Well, welcome, welcome, folks. I'm Kimberly Carroll. You probably know who I am if you're here right now. Some of you know me as the director of the Animal Justice Academy. Some of you know me as an activist, but a lot of you hopefully know me as a coach for Changemakers. And I'm really super excited about this inaugural Changemaker session because not only do I really love to help change makers, do that inner work and create the high performance habits and the strategies that will really take you to the next level. But I really love creating community. And, as change makers out there in the world, as people who care about making the world a better place for us being in it, sometimes we can feel kind of alone in things. And I also love the idea of bringing you folks from all sorts of different disciplines, whether it be in environmental work, animal rights, racial justice, and bringing you all together. Or you're a healer. I know I have some healers in the crowd, and being able to bring you together and just have that sharing. So I'm very excited about this. Wendy, don't worry that you're in the car. I know that I will see you when I see you. So our theme tonight is going to be getting out of robot mode. Okay, so we are going to explore why being present and embodied is so vital for change makers. We're going to go through some techniques, some really tangible techniques for getting you out of your head and into the power of your body. And I'm really going to make a case for why that's so important. Okay, I'm thinking probably the folks that are here know it's kind of important, but maybe you don't know exactly why. And I really want to heighten up the stakes for you on this, okay? Because yes, because this is an incredibly important piece. So I think I want to start off here tonight with getting a little bit more embodied by stopping and feeling in, okay? And so I'm going to do a little check-in with you. And in this check-in, we're going to explore three different forms of becoming more embodied. One is the breath, one is the senses, and one is getting attentive to your inner self. So I'm going to ask everybody right off the bat, and I do this right off the top because we're all coming from busy days. I know I am too. Holy man, there's stuff flying around all over me from today. It's a long story. I can't tell you about it until it's all out there. But exciting things have been happening in some of the projects I've been working on. And so I really like to take this time to help us all get centered so that we can really absorb what we talk about here tonight and how it affects us. So just getting yourself in a really comfortable place. If you're around others, try to close the door, tell people to shut up for a minute. And when you're ready, getting yourself really comfortable. You could even lie back if that feels good to you. I'm going to stay sitting up so that you can still see me. But when you're ready, I just love for you to close your eyes or just cast your gaze downwards a bit if closing your eyes doesn't feel good to you. And I just want to start with a really slow, deliberate breath in and out. And this is just a signal to the body that it's not business as usual, that we are stopping this sort of manic pace or this sort of unconscious movement through our life, and we are catching up to ourselves. And I'd love if you join me in some shoulder rolls backwards, okay? And these aren't like fast, mindless shoulder rolls. I want you to really feel through your body, as you're rolling those shoulders backwards. I'd like you to just really feel where there's tugs in the muscle and the tendons. I'd like for you to sort of have a little chuckle over any cricks and cracks that happen. I'd like for you to take some delight in just the idea that you willed your shoulders to move and they're moving. And as you roll the shoulders backwards, really breathing in to open up that chest, okay? Full breath to open that chest and just letting the shoulders fall back, letting the chest fall open. Good. And let's do one more. And then letting those shoulders relax back and down. And there is nothing you need to do right now that's more important than this, folks. I know that there are niggly voices that's like, let's get on with things. Let's get something done. Let's write something down. But I'll tell you, your quality of life and quality of work depends on you being here now. And I want to just use another little tool for becoming here in your body, here in this moment, because I know I can be asking you to, but your brain could be in a million different directions. So I'd like for you right now to tune into the sounds in the room. And if it's just silence, oh my goodness, how wonderful, just sinking into that. And if there's one sound that you can, hook into, I'd like for you to breathe into that particular sound. Almost like you could climb into that sound and roll around in it. And I'd like for you to feel right now the air on your skin. It might be on your hands or your face. But just noticing if there's any movement of that air. Noticing if it feels cooler or warmer. Really feeling like that air is kind of holding you. Just sort of caressing your skin. And let's take in one more. Let's just see if there's any smells in this moment that we could tap into. And just, again, letting everything else fall away and just getting into the richness of this smell. And I'm going to ask you to just notice what's happening in your body. And I'm going to give you a special assignment. I'm going to ask you to notice where in your body you are holding the most tension. And that could be lots of places. It could be the heart area. It could be the upper stomach. It could be in the throat. It could be in the head. It could be down in the belly. Where are you holding? Where does it feel like you're squeezed, clenched the most? And I'm just going to actually ask you to apply the power of that breath. I want you to just breathe right into that place right now. Almost as if you're breathing spaciousness, tenderness, calm, aliveness, whatever most works for you to breathe into this place right now. A question I always like to ask at the beginning of any sort of work we do with ourselves is just a real sense of curiosity and a lot of tenderness. I want you to ask yourself, How are you right now? Buddy, how are you? My sweetheart, how you doing? And then just see what feelings come up in response to that. Hmm. All right. Let's take in one more big, deep, cleansing breath. And on the exhale, let's just do a little shake out, coming back to sort of this invigorated state in your body, just shaking out the shoulders and the hips and the face and even the lips. And when you're ready, coming back to eyes open. Oh, yeah. I need that as much as you need it. So, isn't it? I hope that you're able to feel a little bit of a difference and a little bit of maybe a bit more spaciousness, maybe a little relief, maybe a little bit of a spark. And if you do, I'm going to say that um, that's you being a more alive in your body, less in your head, more in your body. Okay. And so that is our theme tonight. And we already touched on quite like even more tools than I said. So at the beginning, we used our breath to come into our body. Our breath is always an amazing tool. It's always with us and it can always bring us home to our body. Okay. The second thing we did was we checked into the senses. Okay. Again, if you want to feel your body, get sensory. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. We also did a little tuning into the body scan. And then we were attentive to ourselves by asking, how are you, sweetheart? How are you, buddy? And whatever came up does not matter. Okay. Even if what came up was, oh my God, I'm so depressed. I just don't want to go on. That's okay. Just make sure that you honor that and you just say, thank you for letting me know. And if anybody wants to share in the comments, how that check-in was for you, if anything came up for you, if you notice any sense of just a little bit more awakeness, a little bit more aliveness, I'd be curious to hear about that. So, um, as I mentioned, our theme tonight is getting out of robot mode. I hope we've already started that, but I really want to know how many of you get the term I'm using here, robot mode. Put it in the chat if you really get it, okay? Because to me, robot mode, I talk about it a lot. And so robot mode is that mode where you're so busy getting through the days, planning, analyzing, executing, multitasking, organizing, that you forget to actually stop and feel your life, okay, to feel things. And yes, Abby, it's the same as autopilot mode. I interchange those a lot. And being in this autopilot or robot mode, it's especially bad for folks like you who are tuned into the problems and the suffering in the world. And you get how urgent fixing things are right now and how gargantuan the tasks are ahead of us, no matter, again, in what arena you're working in, that you're volunteering in, you're maybe working full-time in, or you're dabbling in, or you're just trying to find a way to take, some sort of action in it. You're aware of how big it is. And when something feels big and overwhelming, our knee-jerk reaction is to go into autopilot, manage, and try to get shit done. Okay. That's what happens. We just want to try to get some control over it. We want to do something. And I get that. And it comes from a very honest, natural place. The problem is, the more that we practice being in our heads at the expense of being embodied, at the expense of feeling, the more that we practice going on autopilot, the more ingrained that pattern gets. Okay. How many of you here are like, so look forward to a day off, and you get to that day off and then you're all antsy. You're all antsy. Or you go on holidays and you're like, holidays, but then you're just like thinking about, like all the stuff I should be getting done. And you have this like, sort of this unease in you. You're kind of jittery. Yeah. Yeah. Kirsten's just 100% for sure. And so I I know this well, okay? I know of what I speak. Let me tell you a little story. So this was back in my late 20s, and I was a television host and a producer at the time. And I was so focused on reaching my big goals that I set for myself, these milestones. And they weren't even that greatly motivated like the stuff that we're doing here now. But I was convinced, that I needed to be the best. I needed to get to this, higher echelon. And so I was working 70 hours a week. I was constantly, my brain was always figuring out what's next, 2 steps ahead of myself. How do I save time? Always thinking, analyzing. And I started like really starting to not like feel like I was always a really feeling sensitive person. I was a pretty emotional person, but also my intellect was either at play or my emotions were either at play, and they didn't meet very often in the middle. And so I'd already been having some problems about kind of like, I just can't feel the stuff like I'm feeling it. Well, one day I'm in a cafe. It's a Sunday. I've been looking forward to Sunday all week. No work, no nothing. I was meeting a friend I adored in a cafe. We're sitting in this cafe. There's this beautiful fire. I've got my, soy mochaccino. I'm loving it. My friend that I adore is talking to me and telling me this amazing, story from her life. And I'm sitting there looking at her and I'm going, I'm not here. I can't feel anything. I don't even feel like I'm here. I felt like I was floating above my body. And no matter what I did, I couldn't will myself to be there. I couldn't feel any of the joy or the connection or the comfort or the excitement. I couldn't feel anything. I'd been practicing being sort of so in my head and so that not having room to feel that I'd lost the ability. I'd lost the ability to be in my body. Now, just a little, okay, let me go a little step further, because that wasn't the biggest scare of that experience, that feeling like, oh my God, I can't get into my body. The thing that really like kicked my ass onto this path of more of awareness and feeling and expanding was the thought, oh my God, what if I get to the end of my life and I realize I haven't been here for any of it? That's what started my journey to where I am today. Okay. And so can anybody relate? Hands up if you can relate to that feeling of feeling disembodied and going, oh my God, I don't even know how to get embodied. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty. I really appreciate it. Now, I might not get to all of your comments, but I love it. I love seeing them. Viral says breathing deeper is something I don't do often enough, but each time I tend to do better. Tenebrae said, geez, embarrassing, made me cry more at ease now. That's often what happens. Tenebrae is when we give ourselves space, all that feeling that we've been packing down, it kind of can come flooding out. And that's not a reason not to do it. It's a reason to do it more regularly so that you are always processing the pains that inevitably come up in our lives, not just as change makers, but just as humans in this world where we don't know why we've been dropped here. We don't know what we're supposed to be doing. We don't know where we're going. There's no handbook. Okay. It's the recipe for a lot of fear. And so thank you for mentioning that. And so I just really want to talk about why it's so important for us change makers specifically not to sleepwalk. So it's important to understand that in the present and in your body and in your feelings is where most of your aliveness is, where most of the juice is to build a better world. Okay. It's where inspiration lies. It's where creativity lies, passion, compassion. So we need to feel in order to have a full, rich quality of life. Okay. And not only is that great for us, as just our own, individual animals, we are living our own precious lives. But folks, and this is important because I all know that you're people that have stuff to do, important things to do, and have missions. It's also strategic. Okay. If you want to inspire and influence the world, and that's the only way we change it, is to inspire and influence, we need to have a degree of health, happiness, and vitality. We can't be an automatron. Okay. One of the biggest ways we change the world is who we are. And do we inspire people to want to follow us, emulate us, listen to us? Okay. And we're not going to be that. If we're a walking head, nobody's going to be interested in doing that. Okay, so that's one of the strategic reasons. Another strategic reason is you took up the torch of change originally because you felt something powerful. You didn't think something powerful. You felt something powerful. Something drew you, and something is drawing you to try to make this world a better place for whomever it is or whatever it is. Okay, and so if you don't keep connecting to those feelings, you lose your passion, your motivation. I know a lot of change makers who are like this. They're working so freaking hard, and they're so resentful, and they're so exhausted, and they're not even being fueled by what originally set them on this path. Okay, they've lost sight of it, and you can't lose sight or feeling of it, or you lose so much of your gusto. You lose your passion and you lose your motivation. Also, our feelings are what allows us to have compassion. And if we don't have compassion, you know what happens? We alienate people. We cultivate hate. We often will do more harm than help. And we often, will even lose compassion for some of the beings that we are trying to help. Now, the other thing that I think is really important about feeling is that the people that you're trying to influence, they don't just change because of their intellect. They change because of their emotion. Okay. I mean, some people, it's their intellect that you need to appeal to. Okay. And you need to do both when you're really trying to be an effective change maker. You need to appeal to both, but it's mostly emotion that you're appealing to. Okay. And you can't appeal to emotion properly if you're cut off from your own emotion. The other strategic reason, creativity. Creativity is a full being thing. Okay. I don't know if you've ever, like the creative artist type. I mean, they're not working from their head. They're working from their whole being. They're working from their feelings. Okay. And if you try to create from just an intellectual place, it's going to be thin. Okay. It's going to feel thin. Another reason that it's important for change makers to keep that sense of feeling, glistening, is that being in the body, it gives you grounding. It lets you also sort of feel that primal connection that you have to earth and to everything. And that just gives us a sense of power and resilience that is unrivaled by any intellectual mantras. Okay. And I don't want to get really too down on the intellect, because I'll tell you, I have lived my life mostly from my intellect. And I've learned to balance the two, but your intellect is incredibly important. Okay. Your sense of nuance is really important. Your sense of critical thinking, so important to all of this. Okay. But I think a lot of you already have that. So that's what we have to shape out the other part. And now the last piece that I want to talk about, no, actually, I've got two more. So two more stakes. If you're not in the body, you can't feel joy. Okay. Just like that day in the cafe, everything, all the elements were joyful, but I couldn't feel joy because I wasn't in my body. And joy is one of the most rejuvenating states. And as a change maker, we need highly effective rejuvenating states. Okay. We need joy. Otherwise we burn out, or we become a puddle on the floor, and there's no coming back from that. Okay. And finally, If we're not in our body, if we're not in our feelings, we can't have peace. Okay. I'm sure you've heard Gandhi's "Be the change." If you want a peaceful world, you need to find peace yourself. I tell you, the mind is not the place to find peace. The mind is the place to find stories, problems, conspiracies, terrors, old grudges. The mind is can be used very well, but it's not the place where you're going to find peace.
As Sri Nisargadatta says,
The mind creates the abyss and the heart crosses it. Okay, let me say that again because I love this quote from Nisargadatta. The mind creates the abyss and the heart crosses it. And I like to think the body crosses it. So, folks, if I have convinced you that that it is important to be embodied, let me take you through a few techniques right now. Okay, a few tangible techniques on how in a given moment or as a regular practice, you can feel more embodied. So the first one I mentioned today was breath. Okay, now, as I mentioned, your breath is with you from the first moment of your life to the last. So it's always a tool that you can call on. And I just want you to, for a moment, you can close your eyes if you want, but for a moment, I just want you to come into yourself. Just feel your breath. And you can, there's two things that, are really powerful to focus on in the breath. And I would only, at a given time, I would only focus on one or the other. One is the in-breath, where you can imagine, drawing in fresh energy or space, or like really breathing yourself into a place in your body. And there's the out-breath, which you can really sort of use to let go, okay? Soften, ease, let go of some of the thoughts or the tension that you're holding. Okay, so even just in the simple thing as your breath, and you can come back to eyes open whenever you're ready, even as a simple thing as your breath, you can find so many options for coming home. I always think of that. Like, I actually do breath breaks during the day. And this is a little tool I'm going to suggest to you. If you've come here tonight and what I've said has made you go, holy shit, I'm so not in my body, I'm so not present, then breath breaks are a great place to start. What I do is I just, on my iPhone, I go to the reminders app, I put in log a few different ones for different times of day. I put them all on daily repeat. And when they go off during my day, I choose a nice little sounding bell, so it's not annoying. But even if it's on silent, the badge comes up. And when I see that usually, sometimes it's just breathe, or sometimes there's another little message in there, but I just stop whatever I'm doing. And I could be in a meeting and they don't know what I'm doing, but for just a moment, I pay only attention to my breath, and I call it coming home. Okay. It's almost like the rest of this like pace and this rushing and this doing and this managing, it's kind of like it's a dream. It's kind of like it's a trance, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to go in that mode to get stuff done, but we have to keep on coming home. Okay. Or we lose ourselves. I don't know if any of you have seen the Adam Sandler movie Click. It's a bit of an old one, but in it, he finds a magical remote control where he can fast forward through some of the more boring and annoying parts of his life. And he starts fast forwarding through so much, and the button gets stuck. And he can't stop the fast forward. And all of a sudden it's fast forwarding through months and then years and then his daughter's wedding. And, and this is what happens. And it's such a good metaphor for what happens when we don't press the pause button. Okay, when we don't just press play in our lives and live our lives, we tend to get caught, and then life's over and we don't know what the hell happened. I was like, what happened? That's the kind of thing that happens. So the breath. So breath breaks is a really nice, simple starting place. The other thing that is really helpful in creating this sense of being more embodied is what I call a body scan. Now, I love meditation. I really recommend it as a daily practice, but sometimes when meditation is done a certain way and you're really intellectual, it can get you even more trapped in your head. So if you're going to do any kind of meditation, to start with, I would recommend a body scan. Now, I just want to take you through a very, very minimal body scan, just so you know sort of what I'm talking about. But I have body scan meditations. Tara Brach, one of my favorite teachers at tarabrach.com, she's got lots of meditations that she has body scan in them. But it's definitely something you can do on your own. So just let's close our eyes for a second. Coming back to this, that we can never come back home too often. And again, let's just take in a nice big grounding breath. And I'd like for you to just start by coming up into the crown of your head. And just notice what's happening there. Just notice the feelings, the sensation. Noticing, does it feel, heavy in the head or tight? Maybe it feels open and spacious. Or maybe it feels cluttered or cloudy. Just noticing what's the sensation in the head. And there's no beating up on yourself if it's not favorable. Paying attention, folks, is is one of the deepest forms of love. It's transforming. Okay, so just noticing and just breathing into whatever is in the body. Whatever is in the crown of the head, just breathing into it. Bringing presence into it. And in a longer body scan, you might even do that for a bit and then switch to the out breath, and then just sort of letting go of anything that's not serving you in the head with your out breath. So digging in with your in breath to any junk, and on the out breath, just letting it go. Breathing in, and on the out breath, just letting whatever you need to release, letting it go on your out breath. Almost like whatever doesn't serve you is just sort of leaving on your exhale, leaving your body. And you would just go through the body, sort of one center to another. Often we do the head and the throat and the heart and the upper stomach and the belly and the sort of pelvis or root. But let's go to one more, because we don't have all the time in the world right here, right now. Let's go right for the gusto. Let's drop into the heart. And just breathing into the heart, just feeling around in there and seeing the state of the heart. You don't need to know why the heart is this way. You don't need to think or analyze, but just getting into the pure sensations of it. Does that heart hurt? In what way does it hurt? Does it feel squeezed? Does it feel hollow? Does it feel frenetic? Or maybe you're touching into the heart and there's really great things happening, and that's equally as important to feel into. Maybe the heart feels warm or robust or spacious or loving. And again, just breathing into whatever is, just giving it some space. And then now concentrating on what it is you'd like to release from the heart. And on each out breath, just letting go, just softening. And softening some more. Excellent. All right, let's take in a nice Big centering breath and coming back to eyes open. So, as I said, a body scan would probably take you from head to, it could even take you from head to toe. You could go through every ear and every finger, like depends how long you want to do this for. But even if you have 30 seconds, just choose a place and breathe into it and just what's happening there, feel into it. Okay. That in itself can bring you home to your body. The third tool I want to teach you is about the senses. Okay. The senses are our way to come home. Now, what I brought up the senses in the first meditation. I just said, like focus in on one sound and breathe into it and let yourself like almost feel like you're inside of it. Okay. But a really simple way to play with senses is the 5 things. Okay. So when you're feeling like you're really disconnected, really disembodied, or your reactivity is going all over the place, simple thing, your 5 senses. Okay. Just take a moment to hear something in your space. Let's try it right now. Let's just try it right now. So I want you to just hear something in your space. One thing. Breathe into it. I want you to feel a texture, a surface, a something near you, whether it's your clothes or furniture or anything. And I just want you to feel it and really feel it. Like, what's the texture like? Is it rough? Is it smooth? Is it cool? Is it warm? Is it porous? Is it dense? It's really, and maybe feel it also with your palm, whole different experience. Now, third sense, I want you to just notice your sense of taste. Maybe you taste that gum you were just chewing. Maybe you taste saliva because you're hungry. Maybe you taste that really nummy thing you had earlier. Maybe you just taste the roof of your mouth. And now I'd like for you to go into a sense of smell. One smell. We're just trying to pick up on any smell. No judgment, just letting yourself be enwrapped by it. And finally, with your eyes just still downcast, opening your eyes and just looking at something in your immediate vision. One thing, just one little thing that you can focus in on. And just notice everything you can about that thing, the shape of it, the color of it. Is it shiny? Is it dull? Does it reflect? Are there designs? And just breathe into that. All right, one more centering breath. Okay, so I found out there's a little icon on my computer that I never noticed before. I'm like, what the hell does that do? But isn't it amazing what a universe you have right here, right there, that you had no idea. You weren't even at all attuned to it. Okay, you're so busy fighting dragons right now. So the senses, again, you can do that very rapid, quick. You can do it as a rapid, quick exercise. Okay, see something, feel something, hear something. And again, it breaks you out of that trance of doing a robot mode. Okay. Let's see here. I want to get on to, there's 2 more I want to talk to you about. Movement. Movement is so big for getting into your body, so big for so many things. Okay. It's great for overwhelm. It's great for fatigue. It's great for anxiety, depression. I have a regular practice of movement through my exercise routine, whether that's yoga or running or weights. But I also just in many movements, I use movement. Like I do a shakeout several times a day. Okay. Whenever I feel like I'm sort of, I'm getting into this place of robot mode, or I'm feeling something in my body that makes me want to escape into my head, then I do a nice little shakeout. Okay. And so we're going to try this together. And sometimes, the shakeout is just about waking yourself up. And sometimes the shakeout is just really good for, again, getting rid of some of the junk that's getting in the way of you feeling and being alive. Okay. So I want you to close your eyes, and I just get you to close your eyes because when you close your eyes, you kind of move out of a place of head and into a place of feeling. So I want you to just notice where in your body you might be holding stuff. Okay. Again, that stuff could be tension, it could be anxiety, it could be exhaustion, it could be resentment, it could be anger. Okay. It could be grief, sadness. I want you to notice where in your body it is. And just really, that just helps. Sometimes it's all over the body, but just noticing in particular if there's a place. And now I want you to take a great big old breath. And I want you to start shaking your shoulders out. And I want you to start shaking your midsection out. And I want you to start shaking your hips out and your pelvis out. I want you to shake out your head. I want you to even the expression on your face. I want you to shake it all out, even your lips, shaking it all out. And just shaking it all out. You can even get your arms in there and your legs and everything. But when you're done shaking, just let everything go slack. And feel it. Can you feel the aliveness? Can you feel the tingling? Can you feel a little bit more flow, a little bit more openness, a little looseness? Okay, opening your eyes. I'd love to hear in the comments if you felt anything from that shake and what it was you felt. That was a 15-second shake, folks. If you were to do that shake regularly, you are going to keep coming back. You're going to start retraining yourself to be in the full sort of capacity of your body. So it can be a really wonderful thing. And you know what? If you are somebody who's like, you got a lot of stuff, and you're having a really hard time waking up, being in your body, you might have to get a few songs, and you might just have to move your body and to some music, and just, and really feel the music, really get into your body, really feel what's in your body. You might have to pull out the big guns for this, but to start with, just try the shakeout. Okay. And I don't know if anybody was peeking when I did it, but when I shake out like I'm like Kermit the Frog. And so you're shaking out everything. And the thing is, you also don't have to be that dramatic, because sometimes you're going to need to do a shakeout at a party or in a business meeting. So you could learn just to do a little like that can be your form of shakeout. It's just it's letting the brain know that we are stopping and we are changing the direction. Okay. And so Tenebrae said, letting go of an iron band around my chest. Yeah, that's what shaking does for me too. Pamela says, I feel less full. I made room. Yeah, Pamela, absolutely. It loosens things up. Cassandra said, a feeling of intense relaxation. I need to do this more often. And Cassandra, the way that you can do this, the way to guarantee that you do this is to have some sort of accountability. Okay. Some sort of accountability for these practices. I talked about the reminder on your phone, but you could also have a Post-it note. You could have a cue in your sort of daily, your daily routine. Like every time you get up to go to the washroom, you do a shakeout. Okay. Or every time you change tasks, you do a shakeout, or you take a deep breath, or you stretch, or whatever your tool is that you're going to use to become more embodied. You don't need to do all these tools. See which one really calls to you. Okay. And just try that for a week, and then try another one for a week. It doesn't have to be all overnight. It's just in bite-sized pieces is my belief. Kirsten said, there's a girl who does random yoga in the law library. I think I understand why now. Yeah, absolutely. She's trying to get embodied. She's trying to not be a walking head. Yeah, lawyers, be careful, Kirsten. Don't become a walking head lawyer. All right. So I want to leave a few minutes for some questions, but I just want to also remind you that when you start to come into your body, it's not always comfortable. Okay, it's not comfortable because we are creatures of familiarity. We love familiarity, and so when we're not used to something, it feels just inherently uncomfortable. It takes time, and in creating a new habit, new things are uncomfortable. It's okay. Keep breathing into it and letting go. Breathing into it and letting go. Pema Chodron, another favorite teacher of mine, said it's helpful to realize that this very body that we have with its aches and its pleasures is exactly what we need to be fully human, fully awake, fully alive. Okay, and it's trusting that. And again, I have to share this dream with you that I had. Indulge me, but I just had this dream, and this is the dream is why I decided on this topic the other day. So I've had a little preface. I've had a pretty busy month, and I haven't been having the usual time I have for being. I mean, I make time every day, but I like to have even more than that. As much of a change maker and a doer as I am, I need to equally balance that with being. And so not having this, my dream was, as far as I can remember, I was living in a high rise, and buildings everywhere were being bombed. And I was on the 11th floor. And after the bombing, I looked around, and buildings were raised everywhere. And my building was like going back and forth. Like if I walked to one side of the room, it went that way. And if I walked to the other side of the room, the entire skyscraper went the other way. So, oh my God. And I'm on the 11th floor, walking back and forth. And it's just a matter of time before it collapses. So I see people are evacuating, and I go down. I get down to the ground floor to check things out. And I figure, you know what? I have time. I have a little bit of time to go back and save some important things. So I go back, and I'm spending all this time trying to collect my toiletries, all these products that I figure would take me a lot of time and effort to replace, papers, documents. It wasn't even important, folks. And yet I was endangering my life for it. Okay. And that's when I realized, oh, stop, lady. You've been so busy managing your life, you haven't been living it. Okay. How many here can relate to the idea of, I'm so busy managing my life, I've lost my ability to feel my life? Anybody here can relate to that? Yeah. Okay. So, so the discomfort, folks, it's necessary. And the thing is that you are not going to get into all of this juicy stuff that we talked about, peace, creativity, aliveness, unless you're willing to relax a little bit into this sort of wilderness, this mystery of life, this body, this presence. I'm going to leave it with Rumi, because I love Rumi. And Rumi said, be empty of worrying. Think of who created thought. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? Move outside the tangle of fear thinking. Live in silence. Flow down and down into always widening rings of being. Always widening rings of being. Okay? Not thinking, but being. All right. Well, I am so honored that you came to join me, folks. I hope you will come again in 2 weeks, or whenever you can make it. You just show up, and we'll maybe get to know each other a little bit more next time. Like I said, I just sort of wanted to get my sea legs here, and Can you please share the quotes you mentioned in your next email to this group? Oh, good idea, Carrie. I will indeed. You're very welcome, all of you. I'm so happy to gather this beautiful group. And if you keep coming, I hope that, you will get to know each other and what superb people you're in good company with, because this is an amazing crew here. All right, folks, have a wonderful present and embodied night. What I'm going to ask you to do is choose one thing that you're going to try tomorrow, okay, as a recurring tool, and figure out how you're going to make it recurring. Okay, is it going to be the breath? Is it going to be the sensory? The sensing? Is it going to be the shakeout? Is it going to be the body scan? There's your four choices. And how are you going to remind yourself? An alarm, post-it notes, a cue in your routine. What's it going to be? Okay. Rosemary says meditation. You're going to do a body scan. Excellent. Before we go, who else? What else are you going to do? Who's going to choose what? Put it in. I want to hear it. I'm a woman of action. I love action. Okay. Viral says breathe deeper, big breath every hour. I love it. Pamela says shaking it. Yes, of course they're going to go for the shaking. I love it, Pamela. Irene is going to choose the breath breaks. Kirsten, yes, shake it out. Okay. Abby, 5 senses. Yes, that's a perfect thing to do at work. It's a perfect thing to come home at work. Ken says, oh, you cannot. Okay, everybody. Have a wonderful night. And thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.